Hey guys, BeardBrigade here, coming at you with kind of an episode similar to the series I did on Necromancy. Going to actually split this one up to a little bit. I want to do this one big video and split it up, but when I kind of did it, I already recorded it, but I didn't really like the way it came out, so I'm going to be re-recording it a little bit to break it up and actually put a little bit more detail. Because it ended up being originally 3 sections in an hour-long video that just kind of felt really clunky when I went back and tried to edit it. So, like I said, it's going to be similar to the Necromancy series. I'm doing this as player tips, and this series is going to be for player tips for new players who are looking into getting into tabletop games. And I figured what better game to kind of run around in and screw around in other than Dungeons & Dragons itself. The Dungeons & Dragons Neverwinter game. I know that I previously mentioned in an older video that I probably wasn't going to come back to this game at all because I played so much of it on PlayStation and content doesn't really carry over on the account-wise. But I went ahead and just downloaded it on my computer to record it. This is kind of a stable game to play around with, to do some of these player tip videos and play around with it here and there. So, because it is a good game, it has a lot of good features and replayability and stuff in it. And so, we'll be running around as Morgan Runehouse, my Dwarven cleric that I just made, while we talk about player tips. For this video, the player tip is going to be for a new player who has never played a tabletop game. So if you know anyone who has never played tabletop or is interested in getting into tabletop and just doesn't know where to begin, any of the videos from this series of new to tabletop, what is what I'm going to call it. So if you have any friends that are interested in tabletop and they want to just learn more or they want some resources to help them out, please, link and share the videos and whatnot. So, in this particular one, we are going to focus on, for this first video, finding the right game as a new player. Because there's just so much, it can be really daunting to get into tabletop gaming, especially tabletop role-playing games. Specifically is what we're referring to, because there are so many of them. But at the same time, that allows for a lot of resources at your disposal. So, the first topic that I want to kind of focus on for finding your game is think about what kind of game you want to play. By which I mean, what kind of genre are you interested in? Do you want to do something more Western? Do you want to do something more sci-fi? Do you want to be fantasy, like D&D? There's a lot of genres out there, and there's a game for everything. And if there isn't, I'm sure that you could probably find someone who has made a homebrew version of some game system to make that setting a possibility. So it's out there. You guys can find it. So, think about that. First. So once you have an idea of what kind of genre you're going for, what I would recommend as a new player is try to find either a game that has, because also, actually before I go into that part, because the next thing you want to think about is where you live. Now, if you are living in a major city, we're talking like New York or Phoenix, Arizona, Cleveland, big major metropolis cities, it's more than likely that you have at least one, if not several, hobby shops. So definitely, I would recommend, once you have an idea of what kind of game you want to play, either go down to your local hobby shop to see what kind of games people are playing at your hobby shop, to see if anyone has a game like that going on. And 2, you can also go down and, talk with your, local hobby shop guys or gals that work at the shops and let them know, hey, I've never done role-playing games before, I'm interested in getting into one, and you know, let them know that hey, I really want to try and find a Western or a sci-fi. You know, what would you suggest? You know, so take down some of the suggestions and things to look at. I would definitely recommend not making any off-the-hip purchases at first. I mean, if it sounds really interesting and you really want to get into it, cool, do it. I'm not going to stop you guys, but I would highly recommend waiting a little bit before actually you begin to purchase anything. And here's why. So, you know, you may go on your hobby shop list, may, you know, reference you to a bunch of different sci-fi stuff. At the same time, they're also going to be trying to sell you on the item too, trying to get you to purchase it from the shop. You know, because they're going to want your business. You know, they're going to be kind of a salesperson to some extent. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it may not necessarily be a game that's easy to get into, because there is, with the amount of variety out there for games, there are games that are easy to get into, and then there are games that are not so easy to get into, and it's all based on the dice system that the game uses. Now, when we're talking about dice systems, there's all kinds of dice systems. There's D6 systems, there's D20 systems, there's card systems, there's a ton of them. Like, I could probably sit here and make a video just about different systems of role-playing games. But, I don't want to bore you guys too much with the minute details of the gaming world. I want to just keep this kind of simple. So, once you have an idea of that genre, and you have some suggestions from maybe your local hobby shop, if you have one, the next thing I would recommend is looking into each of those games, or before looking into those, if you want to do some of your own research, there's a wonderful website. I will put a link to it in the comments below. The website is called Drivethrurpg. Probably, at least out of everything that I've seen in terms of like a place to get role-playing games, probably easily the single most extensive library of games I've seen. I mean, pretty much everybody has a game published on Drive-Thru. Even my game is actually published on Drivethrurpg. So, you know, go hop over to Drivethrurpg from that link in the description, and, you know, check out what games they have on there, because too, you know, they have them broken down into different genres and stuff. You may find one that, you know, maybe the hobby shop doesn't have because it's only on Drivethrurpg, or, you know, maybe it's only a digital PDF, or, you know, there isn't an actual physical book, because there's lots of stuff out there, guys. And a lot of those digital PDF games are just as good as, you know, published hardcover books and games. So once you've taken a look around and done a lot of the different games, look at the game system. You know, look up reviews about the game, look up information about the game, and kind of gauge how easy or how difficult the system looks like it's going to be. I would strongly recommend, since you're first starting out, I would strongly recommend that you probably pick up something that has very limited dice and very limited need for resources and different materials, because, you know, you don't want to, you know, buy all this material before you go to before even going to your first game, only to get to your first game and realize that you don't like it. So, and then you've spent all that money, and, you know, you can't necessarily get it all back exactly, or, you know, necessarily get refunds depending on what you bought. So, I would recommend basic dice system. A good one that I strongly recommend personally is a game system called GURPS. It is a D6 system, and GURPS stands for General Universal Roleplay System. It literally, GURPS has, and I'll put a description of the Drive, it's actually on Drivethrurpg as well. There's actually over 560 source materials for it. I know that sounds really daunting, But at the same time too, I think it's on Drivethrurpg. I think they have multiple editions of the game too, so you can actually find older editions of it if you want it. But you can actually find the core rulebook, the core, or it's like the basic player book, and then there's the basic campaign book, and then there's modules for everything. You know, you could play your sci-fi game using GURPS. You could play a fantasy game, even it could be generic. Or you can even find people have made source books for GURPS that are for specific settings. You know, maybe you want to go play in the lands of Iboria with Conan. You know, they have a Conan source book. They have a Star Trek source book. They have a Star Wars source book. They have X-Files. They have Serenity and Firefly, you know, Wild West. They just have, there's quite a bit of everything there, so you definitely won't ever be let down with GURPS, and it is a really easy system to learn with the D6, because all it takes is, I believe, 3 D6, or 3 6-sided dice, and that's it, and then you're good to go. So then there's no need to really buy a bunch of materials. You know, you don't have to buy extra dice, you don't have to necessarily buy figurines and things like that. Unless you really want to. You just need to get a copy of the book, or find a group that's running it, and someone could sit down with the book with you, and kind of help build your character. And the character creation system is pretty simple. I mean, it can get kind of complicated when you get into certain things, but it's a great overall system. And you know, I would recommend GURPS for just about everything for starting out. But you know, obviously another good one, and I mean, I'm not saying this because of any kind of like bias I have for playing Dungeons and Dragons for years. It really is just a good starting game. Dungeons and Dragons is actually very wonderful. It is a D20 system, so there's quite a few dice. You can typically go down to your hobby shop and buy a standard D20 set, which has a D20 percentile, 10-sided or 12-sided, 8-sided, 6-sided, and 4-sided. That's your basic set. And you can usually get those from anywhere between, I think, is $8 to $10, depending on the set you get, which isn't too bad. And you know, you can always do that, and you know, buy your set of dice, or you can always buy, I think, a D6 set, of a set of dice that's all just a bunch of D6s crammed in one of these little dice boxes, which I think the D6 set that I have has like 18 or 24 D6s in it. They're kind of little guys, but you know, it gives you plenty of D6s to roll. And then you can even share with people if they need them. You know, so it makes it really simple and easy. But so the D20 for Dungeons and Dragons, you know, the sets aren't overly expensive, and they're not, you know, overly daunting to worry about. Now, two, you know, D&D gets really nice because it has so many different modules too that you can play. 5th edition has been pretty wonderful, and it's pretty simple, and it kind of goes back to keeping things simple. Now, there is a 4th edition as well, which I'm also going to recommend too as a good starting point. Now, the reason I bring up 4th edition and 5th edition, 5th edition kind of goes back to the traditional theater of the mind type of play, where you don't really have a mat and pieces on the board, and everything out on the table. Everyone kind of uses their imagination. You can play 5th edition with like a mat and stuff, but it's not necessarily needed. 4th edition really kind of stresses having a mat and board, and the use of stuff like that. So you can have, you know, pieces and stuff for a map, but not necessarily needed. Leading to the next bit, you know, so the D&D is always a good starting point too. Plus, you can probably for sure 100% find a D&D group in your town. Or at least going on at your hobby shop. You know, you're almost guaranteed to find one. Now, the other thing too, when starting out, so you found your game, you know, you decided on it. You know, now it is time to get some materials. So, you know, if you're really hard set on it, I would say, you know, and you think you're gonna, from everything you've been reading and everything you've been looking up about the game, once you've settled on it, if you feel like it is something you're gonna be into once you play, I would strongly suggest getting your book. Most systems use like the term player handbook or player's guide. That'll be the one that you want to pick up. Otherwise, some systems do refer to it as like a core rulebook. So a core rulebook or a player's handbook is really what you're looking for in terms of wanting to pick up as your starting book. If you're not too unsure about it, maybe see if there's like a quick start guide or a quick reference material that you can pick up. I know at one point, I don't know if they have one for 5th edition, but there was like a cheap little like $10 pamphlet that you get at one point for D&D that had just a couple little basic things in it that got you with like enough to build like a really basic character for like one class. So see if you can find something like that, whether it be, you know, something cheap or something inexpensive. If you really wanted to go out and buy the rulebooks first. What I would really recommend as a first-time player, though, once you've decided to pick up your group or pick up whatever game that you're running for, check out the next video for, you know, finding the group that I'm going to do and then finding a game. But the very basic thing I would suggest is find out what dice system your game uses and just pick up a set of dice, and then go into your first session and, you know, see if someone can help you sit down and make a character and stuff like that. Because I don't want you guys to go out and think, oh, well, I'm going to start being a role player and going to tabletop role-playing games and feel like you have to buy source books right away. I wouldn't recommend doing it, because, you know, role-playing games aren't necessary for everybody. You may want to do it, you may have been wanting to do it, but it may not be something you'll necessarily enjoy. So don't set yourself up by spending all this money right off the bat. You know, at least buy yourself some dice for that match up with your game system, and then once you go to your first session, you know, you'll be able to play a character and build your own character and play around, or at least see the game played and interacted with it. Then make the step to buy after that. So with that, guys, that kind of really covers all the key points of looking into your game first. I'll put some other stuff down in the description below for some links to some websites and places you can find some stuff, you know, to help you look up games and stuff like that. So, hopefully you found this helpful. If so, hit that like button for me. You know, if you're looking forward to the next player tip video I have, so I might be breaking into 3 videos. This is the first one. In the next video, I will talk about finding a group, and I will do my best to provide some resources for helping you find a group, both in your area and online. As well as the 3rd section, I will, kind of like my 3rd Necromancy series, where I give you some ideas and stuff in general. I'm going to give you some good player helpful things, like for being a first-time player and showing up to your first session, and kind of talk about like things you can do as the brand new guy, and how to kind of handle your nervousness and things like that. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. So hit that like button, subscribe if you want to, you know, keep up, and make sure you hit the bell so it lets you know when the next video is out. But other than that, guys, it is time for, I believe, everybody's favorite part of the video, and that is our playlist. So for our playlist today, for our eclectic and for our BeardBrigade song of the day, song of the day, song of the day, we're actually using the same song, but not the same song, because one of them is a cover, as you guys know, because for the month of January, for our song of the day, we are doing covers. So the song itself that we are adding to our eclectic playlist, it's the hip-hop song Jump Around by House of Pain. Awesome song if you haven't listened to it. So that is our song for the eclectic playlist. And then for our cover song, Leo from BeardBrigade Studios does his cover of Jump Around as well, and that is going to be our BeardBrigade song of the day. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you are a new player and you watch this video and you know someone who would benefit from this information, maybe you have a friend out there who maybe you've been trying to get to, get to do tabletop gaming, or, maybe someone in your family. If you think that this would benefit somebody, please share this video with them. Post it on your social media. If you think it'd be helpful, I would definitely appreciate some shares. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and you guys have a super fantastic rest of your day.